Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy AJ Rhymes. Welcome to another episode of Saved by the Blood. Before we go any further, I want to invite each and every one of you to go and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can stay up to date with fresh content as well as upcoming events. Well, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our guest today is a breast cancer survivor. Now, you or someone you may know may be battling with breast cancer. Not only do we want to pray with you, but we hope that you feel uplifted and encouraged after you hear this message from our guest, as she testifies that the blood still works. Welcome, Miss Symiah Wells, to Saved by the Blood. Listen, I am grateful to have you here today. This moment, this month is near and dear to so many of us, including myself, because we have family members or, people we know, friends who have battled with breast cancer. But before we get into your story, because you're a survivor, right? But before we get into your story, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about who you are and where you're from.
Okay, my name is Symiah Wells. I am from Oxford, Mississippi, born and raised on Highway 30. You'll probably hear some people saying, woo, woo, okay, yeah, Highway 30. But yeah, I was born and raised there. My father passed, mother still living. She stays here. She's originally from St. Louis. But I do have 6 boys from age 27 to 7. Yeah, I know. But yes, I do. But yes, I've been here all my life, never moved. Been here in Oxford, Mississippi all my life. Okay. I actually stay in Taylor right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You still in Oxford?
Yeah.
You still right this,
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like West Memphis and Memphis, right?
Right.
Listen, so you're a survivor of breast cancer. Now, people may be asking, well, how can you tie this in with Saved by the Blood? Usually when we talk about Saved by the Blood, we've had people to come on and they talked about how God had delivered them from drug addiction, or God had delivered them from sex addiction, porn addiction, different things like that. When we hear Saved by the Blood, we kind of tie it in with redemption and restoration and deliverance.
Right.
But this month, today, right now, we want to talk about how the blood heals. Mm-hmm. And with you being a survivor of breast cancer, can you give us a little bit of the backstory of how you first discovered when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Okay. So originally I did feel it felt like a little bump, like in my left breast. And I kept feeling it, but I was thinking it's nothing. And so it got bigger. And it, kept getting bigger, but I still thinking, no one thinks, okay, I'll have breast cancer. Something go on with you, you thinking, oh, it's nothing. Yeah. And so I was supposed to be going to get a mammogram when I turned 40, but I didn't go. I said, well, I'll go next month. But I had the place in my breast. And so that January, my auntie found out she had ovarian cancer. Mm. And so I said, well, you know what, let me go to the doctor and, get this mammogram and let him see. By this time, the knot got bigger. And so in March of 2020, I went to the doctor and he sent me to get an ultrasound. And on the ultrasound, they don't want to say it looks like cancer. He was like, it kind of looks suspicious, so we're going to take you to do a biopsy. Okay. So when he got the biopsy, and this is the craziest part about it. Well, I'm not going to say it's crazy because I know it's God. Okay. So my 2 little kids were in daycare. Mm-hmm. It was me, my mom, my good friend, Miss Beverly, and my other boys, which 4 other boys. We all went out to eat at Chili's. Mm-hmm. I just told them, I said, y'all, let's go eat. So we went out to eat. And so that was after I had the biopsy and everything. The doctor called me while I was out eating with my family and told me over the phone that I had breast cancer. And that was a perfect time. Mm-hmm. Because I really couldn't react then. It's just like, I kind of got numb. And I told my mom and Miss Beverly at that time, I was like, the doctor said I have breast cancer. And I didn't tell my other boys, they were over there talking and eating. And my mom was like, huh? And I said, yeah, he just told me over the phone. And so she basically couldn't eat anymore. Miss Beverly couldn't eat anymore. And I said, look, I'm looking at them like ignore, you know, because I didn't want my kids to know at that time.
Yeah.
But I think that was the perfect time to tell me because I was with my family and I couldn't just break down, you know, and I didn't. I just kept eating and kept talking and laughing, you know, with my family.
Yeah.
So that's when I first found out when I was at Chili's eating with my with my family.
A unique way to receive information like that,
Right. Yes.
To be with your family, enjoying, not knowing, not expecting news of this sort, right?
Yes.
I was going to ask you, where were your first thoughts and feelings when you first heard it? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but here you are receiving that type of news, being strong,
right? Yeah,
because you're considering your children. Mom, Miss Beverly, okay, just chill out, eat your ribs, whatever's on your plate, right? Let's keep it normal.
Yes.
Was there ever a time where you thought about it and just broke?
Well, I did after, it was maybe the next day or two when I told my kids, you know, well, I went home, told my husband, and then I told the kids, because my thing is, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to have to get chemo. I don't know if I'm going to have to get radiation. I didn't know anything at this point. So I talked to them, and the first thing they said was, is your hair going to come out? And I said, well, I don't know. And so at that point, it's just like I'm just telling them everything at one time. Yeah. I said, if my hair does come out, if I have to do chemo, do y'all want to see my hair? You know, I want them to know what they thinking right then. And so they looked, they was like, no. I said, okay. I say, so I don't know, but if I have to go through the chemo, if my hair come out, y'all will never see my bald head. Yeah. And so I never let my kids see my bald head, which I did have to go through the chemo, radiation. I never let them see my bald head. Wow. So nobody ever saw it. I wouldn't even take a picture because my kids, they so nosy, they stay in my phone. So I didn't want them to even go through my phone and see. Yeah. And you know, a lot of women embrace that, and I love it. But I had to think about my boys because I didn't want them to be sad or feel any kind of way like mama's sick. Because I never said I was sick because I was never sick. I wasn't sick. I was just, God was taking me through a test to see if I was going to pass the test.
And that's how you initially saw it,
yes.
that this was a test. You know, when we hear people's stories, very seldom do we hear how other people were involved in the journey. I heard you mention journey. I actually just released a project called Lost and Found, and there's a song on there called Journey. And in that entire project, I am referencing my journey to being lost on sea, you know, out at sea. And but I often say this: no man is an island. We don't have to do life alone.
Right.
Here you are. You tell your husband, and in 2 days you let your children know. Now, this just me. This is hard news. I would have to, me personally, feel like I would have to sit with this much longer than that.
Right.
But you wanted to go ahead and get them involved because you didn't want to do it alone.
Right.
When you told your husband, what was his thoughts and his feelings? How did he approach it when you released it to him?
Well, when I told him, I mean, he knew. We're not together now. But this was 2020. He know how I am. If I talk about stuff too long, I'll cry. Yeah. So I was like, well, they said I got breast cancer. You know, I just said like that. They said I got breast cancer. He looked at me. I said, I'm okay. And so I just walked out. He know I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. You know, the more I talk about it, the more I will have to, you know, that will make me cry. Because when something like that happens or anything happens to me or my family, the more I talk about it, the more I'll cry. So I said that, and that was it.
Did there ever come a time where you had to go ahead and just talk about it and release the real feelings on the inside?
Well, so I had the surgery. So went to the doctor. He said it was a simple surgery. Yeah. He said, no, it's not real big. We'll get it out. And you might have to do radiation. And I was like, okay, fine. So had the surgery, and I actually had some in my lymph nodes too. Oh, wow. So I had the surgery, had to stay in the hospital overnight, which that was the worst time because it was COVID. And that was the first night they said no one can stay in the hospital with you. Oh, wow. The first night is when I had my surgery. So my husband couldn't stay. And I was looking like, he was there during surgery, so he can't stay. And they was like, no, ma'am, they just said nobody can stay. So I was in the hospital by myself, alone, after having a lumpectomy. You know, they got the knot out, tubes in me, which they said was going to be like outpatient, but it wasn't. I had to stay overnight. And so I had to kind of process that by myself there, you know. But once I went to get checked out after they did the surgery, the doctor said, well, I didn't get it all. And I'm looking at him like, say what?
There's more.
Yes, he said, I didn't get it all, so I'm going to send you to the oncologist, which I hadn't even seen the cancer doctor yet, because it was supposed to be a simple surgery. They were supposed to get it out, maybe do radiation. So he said, so we're going to have to go back in. But what we want to do is just go ahead and take that breast off. And so at this point, nobody's in there with me, just me. And I'm just looking at him like, say what? You know, I'm thinking, you said it was simple. Why didn't you get it all? You know, that's in my head, but I'm just looking at him. At this point, that's all I heard. I didn't hear anything else. So at that point, when I went back out to my husband and got in the car, that's when I broke down. And I cried and cried. And, you know, he was like, well, it's going to be okay. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. This is not you don't know. You know, how you going to tell me? You know, they not telling you they cut nothing off, you know. And so that's when I actually broke down. And I cried and cried and cried. And so that's when I...
So I love the transparency. We see how when you first received the news, your faith was strong.
Right.
It's going to be okay. You tell your family, don't trip, this, that, and another. But in this moment you just shared, you broke down. Your husband declares what you declared from the beginning. It's going to be okay. And you say, no, it's not. How can you say that? Here's what I want to share with those of you who are watching. It's okay not to be okay.
That's right.
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean you're faithless. Sometimes God allows us to have those moments where we feel the weight of what it is, the circumstances that we're going through. Even Jesus showed up, told the disciples what he was here for. Everything else he did was just a byproduct of what he came here for. He came here to give his life, came here to die, to rise again with all power so that we can be free from sin, right? He ends up at the garden, and this is the moment he breaks. Jesus had a breaking moment.
That's right.
He had a breaking point where he said, Father, can you pass this cup? Give me something else to do. Like, we got to go this way. We got to go this way. You know, after preparing the disciples for what he had to do, right? He had a breaking point. You have a breaking point, but you're not alone. It's okay. You mentioned the word process. This is part of the process because God is doing something in that, right? At what point, like, I heard you say that you were alone in the hospital. I just kind of want to touch that place because sometimes people show up in life, but then there are times where they're not there.
Right.
What do you do in that time where you're alone? What did you do when the doctors told you they couldn't be there and you were there alone?
Well, when they first told me, I was just like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, so he can't even stay? They was like, no, he have to go right now. This was right after surgery.
So it was immediate.
Right after surgery. They was like, no, he have to go. And I'm just looking like, well, okay, I can't do nothing about it and I can't go. So, I mean, I just have to, stay here. And so, I mean, I just sat there. I prayed. I watched TV. I prayed. I watched TV. That's what I did all night. My husband called and I told my kids and my mom, I didn't want anybody else to know. Because I'm the type of person, I don't want you to be, oh, you okay? I hate that. I'm sorry. I hate this. At this point, I hadn't even told my good friend. I hadn't even told them, what was going on. Because I don't like any parts of that at all. Because when you call me, I want you to call me like you've been calling, telling me about somebody's business, telling me what somebody else doing. Don't call me, you okay? What you doing? And I did have a friend that was like that. She was kind of crying every time she called me. And I was like, girl, look, I'm exercising. I ain't got time for this, And so it was at that point, she was like, oh my God. She was like, I don't know why I ever thought you wouldn't be okay. She was like, I'm crying and worried and you exercise. I said, right. So, okay, call me tomorrow. We'll talk about something else. Don't call me talking about cancer every day because I'm not going to do this every day.
Yeah, listen, I think it's very important that we pay attention to how we go through. You know, we gotta pick. It makes me think about the children of Israel. Here it is, God is setting them up for freedom. We're bringing them out of a place of bondage, which is Egypt. Because we talk about saved by the blood, guys. We're talking about redemption, restoration, deliverance, and salvation. We're talking about healing, right? God is setting them up for freedom. But he takes them through the wilderness because he's taking them to the promised land. ED, meaning it's there.
Right.
It was already promised. But before they get there, they have to go through this wilderness. The whole intent of the wilderness was to get this Egypt mentality out. So they won't go in the promised land with a bondage mentality.
Right.
He needs to rid them of some things. Here it is. You're going through your wilderness moment. You're paying attention to how you go. Listen, I don't want that. I don't need this because I don't need to be overweight. I'm exercising. I'm doing whatever I need to do to get through this correctly. I think it's very important that we pay attention to how we go through our different processes. And it's also important to pay attention to who we allow to connect in those places. What people or what person played a very vital role as you went through this entire process?
Well, I actually didn't have anybody that I just really talked to, because my thing is, you can go through something and somebody else can go through something too, but it's going to be totally different. Because I had one person that I talked to scared me to death. And I mean, honestly. And so I stopped talking to that person because it scared me to death. So I'm thinking, okay, God, I'm not finna talk about this. I'm not telling nobody, because it's just like a woman that's about to have a baby. Somebody can scare her to death. Girl, I went through 25 hours of labor, it would kill me, and you might not go through it like that.
Right.
So I stopped asking anybody, and I just started praying about it. And God had actually prepared me for it before I even went through it, because I started fasting and praying. Not knowing why. But I start fasting, and I still to this day, I do that. My kids, Mama, you crazy, because I go without eating until like 5 o'clock. 12 o'clock at night, I stop eating. And then 5 o'clock the next day, I start eating. My kids, Mama, finna eat this, you want something? I'm like, no, I'm not eating till 5. Mama, I die if I had. I'm like, no, you could do it if you wanted to. I said, but there's something. But even before I was diagnosed, I was fasting and praying, but I had no idea why. But God was just preparing me. At that time, I had no idea. But when I look back, I see how God set everything up. And even with my job, because we were working at a different place, but God moved us right by the cancer center.
What?
We moved right by the cancer center. And so when I did my radiation, I was able to go on my lunch break every day, right down the street to do my radiation.
Really?
And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, God,
he had it set up.
I see you, God.
Wow.
I see
you.
Yes.
It's I love it when we're able to see God in each moment. This helps keep our faith built as we go through these hard times. This wasn't easy for you. I'm watching you talk about it, and all I'm seeing and hearing is faith, faith, faith. And you're being very careful about what you're allowing into your ear gates, your eye gates, all of that, because all that determines what comes out of your mouth. Right? People of God, or whoever you are that's watching, we have to stand guard about with what we allow into our ears and what we're watching, especially when we're going through these processes of change, healing, deliverance. You may be battling with some type of addiction, and your mindset may be, I want to break free from this. Well, you got to change your circle. You got to disconnect from the people that are speaking the wrong things. You got to change what you're watching and start declaring what it is that you want to see. You wanted to see healing. Wow. And God he pretty much had it all set up, right? The first thing, if you want to see the blood of Jesus working in your life, I'm saying really see it manifesting in your life, you need a relationship.
That's right.
You need a relationship with Jesus. I'll take this moment to invite you to allow Jesus to come into your life. You gotta have Jesus. You gotta have Jesus. We can't have stories and testimonies like this without having Jesus in our life. And you saw him working in every aspect.
Yes.
Wow.
Even in like when the cancer doctors, oncologists, and radiation doctors, they're supposed to work together.
Yeah.
So they were trying to get me to get my breast cut off. I went and got a second opinion. And so that doctor, he was in Memphis. I'm a nurse. I never tell anybody I'm a nurse. Because when it comes to me, I'm not a nurse. I don't know anything. I don't know nothing. And so this doctor in Memphis, he sat beside me and went over everything word for word, what was going on. And he told me I wouldn't get my breast cut off and I wouldn't let them go back in me and do anything.
Wow.
He said, do radiation and chemo.
Yeah.
He said, because when we tell you, and when he said I'm trusting him because he's putting himself in this.
Yeah.
He said, when we tell you that we get all the cancer out, he said, most of the time we don't. He said, so do chemo, radiation, and he said, you'll be okay.
Okay.
And so when I went to talk to the doctor that was going to do the radiation, I sat there and watched him. He kept looking at his paper, and I'm looking like, come on, man, I ain't got time, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And so when he came in, he sat down, he said, you know what? He said, my intentions was to tell you that you need to get your breast cut off. He said, but I can't tell you that. And at that point, I know you can't, because God not going to let you tell me that. God not going to let you tell me that.
Come on.
That's why he kept looking at his papers like, thinking, what about
glory.
Later, But he told me, he said, I can't tell you that. He said, so what I'm going to do is just help you get through this radiation.
Wow.
He said, but if you want a third opinion, I said, no, sir, why would I get a third opinion?
Come on.
But it's like God was speaking through him, and he had no idea why.
Yeah.
When he said, my intentions was to tell you to get your breast cut off. I know he have to listen to the oncologist, but he couldn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And when I walked out of it, I was like, thank you.
Wow.
I know. I knew. And I called my brother. My brother is a junior deacon in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I told him, and he said, oh my God. And I said, he couldn't tell me that.
Yeah. I feel like the word that was over your life, I don't know if anybody ever spoke this or what not, but I just heard this. I feel like the word that was over your life was healed and whole. You had to come out of this healed and whole. They couldn't change anything, right? Because God needed your life to be a testament to those who are watching, including myself, that he is a God of not only healing, but wholeness. And when he's in the midst, he'll make it work, right? When life happens, Symiah, it tends to hit hard, right? It's inevitable. Would y'all agree? When life happens, it happens. And it tends to shake us. How did this test, that's what I'm calling it, how did it change your perspective on life, on love, purpose, faith?
Well, I mean, I know for a fact it made me get closer to God, although I thought I was close to God. Before this, I'm like, I'm a Christian, I believe in God. But when this happened, I'm thinking, no, I'm not a Christian. I know I believe in God, but I don't have faith like I should. But once I went through this, I knew.
Wow.
I knew. I'm like, okay, I have faith. I wasn't worried about it. Like, I have a sister, we're real close, but I wouldn't even talk to her about what was going on, because she a crybaby.
Yeah.
I love her to death, but she gonna cry.
Yeah.
If I tell her something about me, because I'm the baby of the family. So if I tell her something, she gonna cry all night. She gonna cry the next day. She gonna cry 3 days later. So I didn't even tell her anything until after the fact, when I went through. And I didn't tell anybody else but my close friends and family. God kept telling me, tell your story, tell your story. And it's like I'm trying to, talk to God. I say, okay, God, can I get through chemo first? Please, Lord, just let me get through chemo and I'll tell my story.
Yeah.
And the day I was able to ring the bell, that same day, I told my story.
Wow.
I put it on Facebook for everybody to know.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing how so many people was like, oh my God, we didn't know. And so many people reached out to me. And it's like God was saying, if you're going through something and you can't tell it, it's no need of you going through it.
Whoa.
Don't even go through it.
That's good. There's no testimony without going through a test. What I see in your story is that God was developing your faith even more, because there's something he was preparing you for.
That's right.
There's process, there's preparation, then there's promise. It's not promise, then preparation. No. When preparation meets opportunity, there's a grand chance for deliverance, salvation, all of that. There's process, there's preparation, then there's promise. What I see in your life is God was developing you, developing your faith for such a time as this. He was redirecting you. Maybe you was going in one direction. God said, listen, I'm going to shift your life with this text, to set you on this path. There are people who need to hear stories like yours. Your testimony is giving hope. It's encouraging someone who may be battling with breast cancer or any type of cancer, or any type of illness, right? I know this is breast cancer awareness, but we don't want to just limit it to breast cancer. You are a testament that God can heal, right?
Yes. Yes.
What words of encouragement will you give to anyone who's dealing with any type of sickness?
Well, I would just say, first of all, have faith and keep going. Because the thing is, the longer you lay down, the worse you'll feel. I mean, if you lay down long enough, by the time you get up, your bones aching. I mean, you feel horrible. So even when I was going through the chemo, radiation, and everything, I was outside playing basketball with my boys. I wanted to throw up some days, but I was still doing it. I was lifting weights. I was exercising. I was doing everything. I tried to be as normal as I could. I didn't want my boys to see me, but they knew. But and I know they knew I was going through something. But I'm your mom. I'm gonna still be your mom. And if you act a fool, I'm still be your mother.
Come on now.
So
talk to
I'm sick. Okay, I'm not sick. And I let them know. Okay, no, I'm not sick.
I still get it.
I still bitch. And my boys know that. And so I just don't lay down. And a lot of people, when they hear the word cancer, when they hear diabetes or congestive heart failure, they automatically give up.
Right.
You can't do that. Because if God is waking you up, you got a purpose. It's a purpose. It's a purpose. I don't care what you are going through. If God wakes you up, you got a purpose. So live in your purpose. And I know now, this is my purpose.
Wow.
I know it.
Wow.
I mean, I've been the whole month. I've been doing programs. I've been talking to people. I had something yesterday I went to, and shared stories. So this is my testimony. This is my story. And I was never sick. I was never sick. It was a test. It was a test. And God let me know I passed the test. And He's working through me right now. That's what He's doing. So just don't give up when you hear that word cancer or no other sickness. Don't give up. Don't give in. Keep moving.
Keep moving.
That's what I can tell you.
When life be life, keep living.
That's right.
When life be life, keep living. Why? Because there's purpose. If you're still breathing, God got a purpose for your life.
That's right.
You got to get up. You may be in a stuck place right now. Circumstances may be hitting you left and right. And you may be questioning, God, where are you? I've been serving. I've been doing this. Why now? Why this? Why now? Keep living. Keep getting up. Keep getting them bones moving. Keep stretching. When life starts lifing, you got to keep living. Symiah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. When we talk about Saved by the Blood again, we're people may think about redemption and restoration, but you share with us that the blood still works through healing.
That's right.
Thank you again for being here.
You're welcome.
I'm full. I've received a lot from this. For real. I've received a lot from this. I know we're going to talk about it when we leave from here, but thank you all for watching. We pray that you were uplifted, that you were encouraged. Man, if you know anybody who's dealing with any type of sickness, primarily breast cancer, since this breast cancer awareness, man, invite them to watch this video, because we believe that God is going to do something miraculous through what was just shared from Symiah Wells. Thank you, Symiah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Would you pray for those who are watching?
Sure.
Yeah.
Our Father, Lord, first of all, I would like to thank you for being here today, and thank you for letting me speak my words. Lord, if there's anyone that's going through breast cancer or any other sickness, please help them, lead them, guide them, give them the strength and hope to keep holding on. And when they wake up the next morning, let them know they still have hope, they still have faith, and
Yes.
they do have a purpose.
Yes.
Lord, thank you so much for healing me, and please do the same for other people that's going through.
Yes.
I ask these things in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Lord.
Amen. Amen. There you have it. Saved by the blood. Thank you, Miss Symiah Wells,
Thank you so
again.
much.
We'll see y'all next time. Peace.